it's going to be a tale of two stories. Either you're going to smoke us this game, and good for you, and I'm going to watch it because my wife knows we're going to sit through all this because we will, or this is going to be the greatest comeback of all time.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Green Bay Narrative, a show where it is my job each week to sit down with a different fan to hear their stories. As always, I'm your host, Ben. On today's episode, I am joined by John. John is a diehard Packers fan who resides in the area. He actually came over to record his episode, which is always enjoyable. During my conversation with John, some of the things we talk about include being sober for 10 years and how that impacts his game day rituals, what the area was like during the Brett Favre transition, the Packers-Bears game from week 1, and honestly so much more. I hope you all enjoy John's episode as much as I did. Before jumping into the conversation with John, I do want to make a quick announcement. I am, after next week's episode, going to be taking some time off of the podcast, just a brief hiatus while I rest, recharge, hang out with family during the holidays. So I will be returning the day after the Super Bowl, taking about a month off. February 4th will be the 40th episode of the Green Bay Narrative, and I'm super excited. I will be joined by a current Packer player for that episode. So I appreciate you all understanding my need to take some time off. So we'll return on February 4th with episode number 40. All right, now let's get into our conversation with John. Enjoy. And we are joined tonight by John. John took time out of his Friday night to drive across Green Bay to join me in my apartment. So John, first off, thank you. And second, welcome. I appreciate you being here.
Very cool. Thank you. Looking forward to this.
So for anyone listening, where are you from?
Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm an East Sider. East Side.
East Side. So are you originally from Green Bay?
No, I was born and raised in West Bend, but I am West Bend, Wisconsin, just 30 miles north of Milwaukee, and I've been a Wisconsinite my whole entire life.
Okay, so what made you jump into being a Packers fan? I mean, aside from being Wisconsinite.
So we got two things that we got to start with. First, my family, going back to even my great-grandfather, was a Packer fan. And my Packer, where I started becoming a fan, was when I was 10 years old. And that was in 1982. I'm born in 72. And that was the Lynn Dickey. My favorite player of all time is John J. Jefferson and nice. James Lofton. Those teams, I still have that old style roster up above, and I face it every day at my office.
That's awesome.
Yeah, even Larry McCarron's on there.
Yeah.
But my family history goes back to the 1940s, where maybe even the 30s, where my great-grandfather was Henry J. Martin. So you hear of H.J. Martin, okay?
Yeah.
The flooring, okay? So my grandmother was the second oldest of that family. And where it gets interesting and where I hear a lot of the stories from when my grandmother was alive and when from my great-aunt was alive was they were a well-established family after my great-grandfather, started the flooring business up, that there was a lot of hobnobbing with like Paul Hornung, my mom being babysat by Bart Starr, and you have these family tales that go on and on. So when I grew up with those stories, but we were distant because when my grandmother, this is good drama, and my cousin who lives in LA is actually possibly doing a movie on his mother, my aunt Rosemary.
Really?
Because they kind of rebelled against the Mimi and Papa, Henry, John, and Mimi wanted this ideal kind of Kennedy style family. Okay. And I remember my grandmother, Patricia Bellin Martin was her maiden name. She had a prearranged marriage with a wealthy guy. Okay. Don't know his name. This is all family lore.
Right,
okay?
right.
So take that. Some of this is fable. Some of this
has been building
just
up
the best
for
of my
years.
knowledge.
Right.
Best of my knowledge. And she was ready. She had an engagement ring on, and she met my grandfather. And this is all my mom's side of the family, by the way. She met my grandfather in Madison because they both went to Madison. And there is a story of before she was going to get married, my grandfather and her were at a bar, and she put her engagement ring up on the bar and left it there, and then eloped with him. So she was estranged from the family, so to speak. And so our relationship, and once again, love H.J. Martin, love my cousin Ed and everybody, but we never had that very close relationship. Right. So back to your original question of how did I become a Packer fan was through my grandmother, my grandfather, and my great aunt, Rosemary. They, in the 60s, were with the Packers. They went from Oneida Country Club they went to church, then Oneida, then driven to Lambeau Field, and then afterwards they would go to the house parties or host the house parties and have Packer players and stuff like that over there. A classic story that my Aunt Rosemary told me that my Uncle Wally one time we got a lot of drinkers in this group. This is kind of the side of the family where I get a lot of my my alcoholism and addiction. There was a lot of drinking, and at one party, my cousin Peter told me this very clearly, and so did my Aunt Rosemary, that my Uncle Wally was a little drunk, and my Aunt Rosemary was really, really drunk, and Paul Horning came up and asked my aunt to dance, and they were dancing together, and dancing. My Uncle Wally got pissed, and they almost got in a big old fist fight in the house, or something to that degree, So you hear these stories about when we go to games, we got our jerseys on, we got our jeans on, and maybe a hoodie.
Yeah.
They went with the nines. Mm-hmm. You went with your fur coats and your suits, and it was like the event to be seen, and and to see other people, and to hear that growing up, it was like, wow, it was like Camelot. It was like Green Bay and Lambeau Field was like Camelot. So there you go with my Packer start.
And your family is pretty ingrained in the history of Green Bay beyond just Lambeau Field. I mean, well, beyond the Packers, I should say. You talked about they kind of helped with Lambeau Field.
So number one, and I'm always saying this with respect, because I want to talk about my side of the family that I'm not very close with, but Ed Martin is the CEO and the runner of that organization right now, and he would be a second cousin to me, so I always want to get the lineage straight. He is very cool. Him and I talk once in a while, and his stories are unbelievable. Like, I love just sitting and bullshitting with him, because he was on the board of directors, I think, for like 5 to 8 years.
Wow.
And when they did the renovations and they did the stock options, I think it was in 96 or 97, and then in the 2000s,
yep,
all the flooring and a lot of the drywalling came from H.J. Martin, so they kept it all in-house. The classic story I can always remember, and remember I'm saying it to the best of my recollection, is when we had... We'll get in my slant of Brett Favre. So when we were on the tractor watch, okay, and that was 2005, 6, or 7, I think it was. Well, no, wait, Rodgers.
Well, the tractor. I mean, in fairness, Brett Favre was always retiring and unretiring.
Years. But remember when McCarthy took a plane down to talk with Favre and get him to come back in that summer before training camp?
Yep.
He took Ed's plane. Ed's got 3 jets, and he took one of Ed's planes, and Ed allows people to fly all over the place with his stuff. Ed is super, super cool dude, and all his sons are way, way nice. But that was like the meat and potatoes of H.J. Martin, and the Packers have a huge history. and there's just undying love on each side. Where my other cousins come into play, where I got my season tickets from, was Peter and Michael Chrisman. When Lambeau Field was built, okay, you had from City Stadium to Lambeau Field, that was like the first big stock option, was buying the season tickets. And so you have these, and this is where people, always trying to be brutally honest here, people from outside of Green Bay or outside of the bubble that have those season tickets get really pissed at the waiting list. My kids are on them. Before my kids were born, I put them on them, and I have the letters that state what number they are. And I think Jaden and Dylan are in the 120,000. Okay. But they bought pools of tickets. My Aunt Rosemary and Uncle Wally, who Michael and Peter are their children, they had 13.
Wow.
Okay. So to have 13 is like a lot. The Martin family has a lot of tickets. I don't even know how many. But when this kind of made news in the late 2008, 2009, after my Uncle Wally passed, there was a family kind of feud over these 13 tickets, and Michael took all 13, and Peter wanted to split that in half, and Peter had to hire an attorney, and it was the only time, and remember that this is factual, the only time the Packer board was going to get involved in a family feud over these tickets because of the relationship that the Martins and the Chrismans had with the Packers. Okay. And when I remember being in Green Bay and Charlie Sykes bringing this up, because my one cousin is from LA and another cousin is from Arkansas. And how can these two guys be fighting over 13 seats at Lambeau Field? And it made the Journal Sentinel. It was a big hubbub. My cousin spent tens of thousands of dollars on an attorney to try to protect those tickets because he wanted to give it to the family. He settled for 3. I have those 3.
Wow.
I am the caretaker of those 3. He still owns them. And I am extremely blessed and grateful for these tickets. It's section 126, row 20, seats 22, 23, 24. It's right on the aisle. So
that's a nice section too. What, 40-yard line?
So it is the Packer side.
Yep.
We are about between the 5 and 10 yard line.
A little off because 120 is middle, right? Something like that. 120.
Yeah, it would be about 120 to 116 are where you have the high end tickets. Put it this way: Geronimo Allison, when he caught the pass from Rodgers with the Bears game, one of the greatest games, mind you. I've seen plenty of Packer games. Still, that Bear game opener was one of the greatest games I've been a part of, and I've been a part of a few. But when Geronimo Allison caught that teardrop right in the end zone, that was like boom, right there.
Right.
And that was just fantastic.
Well, let's talk about that game since we're kind of on that subject now. So obviously the first half was terrible. You're going into your 100th season. Rodgers goes down. What's your first thought on that?
Oh shit. So let's preface this because we got to have a little build up here. This is the 100th season. We got rid of TT. Not a TT guy.
No.
Ted Thompson, not a TT guy. I'm not a Dom Capers guy. He should have been gone in 2012. Let's just get all my cards on the table so you know where I'm going with this, okay? So I've been a huge cheerleader to get rid of those guys. And TT, now the chickens have come home to roost because now we've seen what his last 3 years of draft picks have done, okay? So when we get our new guys in, and then they hire Mike, the defensive coordinator.
Pettin.
And then we got Joe Philbin back. And our GM...
Gutekunst.
I always call him Gesundheit. I'm sorry. That's the only way I can...
It's German, right?
Gutekunst. It is.
Yeah, you're
my
good.
name's Plogman, so I should know that, but it never rings a bell with me. But we got a young GM.
Yeah.
And
he's making moves. He's aggressive.
Making moves. making moves. And we got Muhammad. We got the defensive tackle. That was great.
Yeah, and then Jimmy Graham.
Graham, and then you let go of Jordy, and it's like, oh, okay, what's going on? But, in Packers we trust. This is a new wave. We're going to go with it. There was... We don't want to waste Rodgers' time.
Yep.
We have the greatest... We have the GOAT. Mm-hmm. Okay? Brady or not, Rodgers is the GOAT. Because you hear all that.
It's the Jordan LeBron argument, really.
Is. And so with that Bears game, I am on cloud 9. Now, Lambeau is my church, okay? When I go in there, and I'm going to jump into kind of where my history is here. I've been sober for over 9 years. So when I go in there, and I'm using my cousin's tickets, and we have a sobriety history of lineage of alcoholism and drug abuse, that when I go in there, it's not like I'm like way serious, but I go in there to pay homage to my elders who have been there before me. Mm-hmm. So I get there an hour early, and my wife just thinks I'm nuts getting in there an hour early. But mind you, you get through the metal detector super easy, and then the one biggest thing I'll give a tip to anybody is don't be late to Lambeau and then look at your seats and going, why do I only have a seat and a half to sit in?
Right.
Okay. I bring my own chairs. I lock it in. We're good. Mm-hmm. We're ready to play the Bears. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm pumped. I have my wife. The rule of the season tickets is as long as my wife gets to go to the home opener, we're cool with whatever games I go to. And that's our kind of
good arrangement.
Understanding.
Yeah.
Our understanding. So she always gets carte blanche on that. And then I always bring one of my buddies. And that first half sucked. And I'm going, what is going on here? Trubinsky's looking good.
Yeah. Well, and Khalil Mack is a one-man wrecking crew.
I know. And for what the Bears, we're going to go off and on side tangents here, but once the Bears gave up, what did they give up for Trubinsky? And then what did they give up for Khalil? Are they going to have any draft picks in the next 2 to 3 years? But you saw his impact. Mm-hmm. He is the Reggie White of this group, this era.
Yeah, dude's a monster.
And he sacked the pick, the batted ball or the sack pick or whatever it was. Yeah. That was right in front of us on our end.
Yep.
So, and you saw that right before half.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, this is nuts. So here's the best irony I can give you of this game. And this is why it was one of the greatest games I've ever been at. I know the people. When you're a season ticket holder, you know the people around you. You know who's selling the tickets and who's not there. Mm-hmm. Okay. I always applaud everybody when I'm there because I always want everybody to have a good time, and I want to make sure. And at Lambeau, people know this. You sit down when everybody's sitting down. You stand up when everybody's standing up, and you're not going to be that guy that's just going to stand up because this is your only time at Lambeau. Mm-hmm. I hate fans like that. Go with the flow, people. Everybody will have a good time.
Right.
So the dude next to me was shirtless and, young guy, buff, and he had the Packer bibs on. His girlfriend, I really couldn't tell what she was until that first touchdown. And I'm like, you're an undercover Bears fan. And she's going, yeah, she's going nuts. And so at halftime, and this is reminding me of the Thanksgiving game when it rained and snowed and, it was Bart's last time to Lambeau and Favre was forgiven and and we actually, side note, we left at halftime. It was the only game I left early, and that was because my sister wanted to leave early.
Yeah.
That was a family reason why.
Well, in fairness, that game was miserable. Still the worst.
Sideways. The game was going sideways.
Still the worst. That's the only game I've ever wanted to leave early. And I didn't because I didn't have a family thing right and but I was miserable. That was the worst game I've ever sat through at Lambeau Field. It had to be 32.5 degrees and raining the entire time.
Rain, sleet, and my wife was what was she? 6 months? 4 months, 6 months, something like that, pregnant with my son. And my sister that we gave her these tickets, but sorry, Mary, if you hear this, we gave her this as her Christmas gift because those tickets were going for hundreds of dollars,
right.
Way over value.
Yeah.
Mind you, I never sell tickets over value. I always give them to fans. but we brought my sister, and it was her gift. So at halftime, she was miserable. I'm like, do you want to go? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, well, let's go. We'll watch it at home. And we watched just the Vikings and the Bears. When you lose to them in a really piss poor fashion is a hard pill to swallow.
Yep.
So back to this game, I go over to her and I'm like, it's gonna be a tale of two stories. Either you're gonna smoke us this game, and good for you, and I'm gonna watch it because my wife knows we're gonna sit through all this because we will, or this is gonna be the greatest comeback of all time.
Yeah.
Now, when you're at the game, you don't see people getting carted off and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in front of us where we're at, you're so focused on the game that you miss. And my wife goes, there goes Rodgers. He's getting carted off. And I didn't catch it until he almost made the tunnel. And he's gone in first quarter, I think.
Yeah, like second series.
Second series he's gone.
Yeah.
And then we had, who's our guy from Cleveland?
Kaiser.
Oh, boy. Anyway, that whole mess. But then he comes back, and it's like Jesus walking on water. There's nothing this guy can do that's wrong. And he's hobbling, and you're like, dude, save the knee. And he makes the one to Geronimo. He makes the one to Cobb. And then he makes the one to Devontae, and Devontae does the shimmy shake and then runs in. Yeah. And it's the greatest comeback I've ever seen. The greatest comeback in Packer history.
Yeah, had to be up there.
No, it is. It's the greatest. It's the greatest either third or fourth quarter comeback.
Oh, sure, statistically.
I got a dude on one of our Facebook groups that I'm in that made a mini helmet with the actual stats.
That's
that
awesome.
Game. And I'm like, I had to buy that.
So you've been going to games now for a while.
Yeah, I've been going regularly. I've been a season ticket holder since 2009. Sporadically, I've been going my whole life.
So were you there week 17 of 2014 against the Lions when it was a very similar feel of Rodgers goes out? Remember he threw the touchdown, went down. He leaves the thing.
Yep.
The Packers and Lions are playing to get a first round bye. And then I think it was Matt Flynn struggling on offense. We punt the ball. The Lions get back into it. And then it just shows Rodgers standing in the tunnel, the green glare on him. And he just walks out to chance of MVP.
The only thing is when Rodgers came out at halftime, he was like running across the field and the fans were going berserk.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it was like Led Zeppelin reuniting and playing. It was that type of hype. Like, people were just losing their shit over this.
I didn't know how it would compare in be in comparison to that Lions game because to this day, if I think about that game, just chills.
Right.
Just seeing Rodgers in that tunnel coming out for the Lions game, and then Rodgers against the Bears running across. I mean, it's the same chills of this dude's going to do it. Like, there's no doubt about it. He's going to come back and win this game. And you just get that feeling when those moments happen. It's like Jordan game 6.
He's so calm, cool, and collected. And I respect that from him. He's so opposite from Favre. Because Favre is pure emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching Favre in college. And you always gave him like the first 6 or 7 throws just to settle down, because every time he was throwing over people or he's throwing just bullets.
Yeah, bullets.
Rodgers has this grace and just this balance to him that he's like what's the dude? Who's the dude in the Matrix?
Oh, Neo? Is it Neo? I've never seen the Matrix.
Yeah, with the actor.
Oh, Keanu Reeves.
He's like, he's got that slow motion, that 6th, 7th sense almost, where he can. I mean, swear to God, you think the guy can see the trajectory lines like in Madden, like on your PlayStation Madden, you see the trajectory lines, and he can do it. It was a great game. I've been to that one this year. I was at the Bills one. That was a easy one. The Niners.
I was there too.
Let me tell you something about Niners. I've seen a lot of fans. Okay, Bears fans tolerable. Vikings fans, I'm going to be honest, they kind of suck.
Yeah.
All right, they're always in your face. Philly fans are the worst of all, and I'll go on record that they're the worst of all. Remember, there was 2 years in a row, and I feel sorry for Milwaukee season ticket holders because they're the goal package. They get the second and fifth game, and the fifth game 2 years in a row was Philly at home.
Oh,
and
God.
Philly smoked us both those games.
One was 2013, I believe, because I was there.
I was in the end zone for that one,
Yeah.
and then 2000 must have been 2014 or 2012.
Yeah, because we beat them in recent memory because we did the run the table where we absolutely
We beat
smacked
them in Philly.
Yep, and
We
then
beat them in
2014 we absolutely crushed the hell out of them here too.
But the one that we lost here, those Philly fans that were there were ornery. They didn't give a shit. They were in your face.
Yeah.
They were spilling beers. They were getting in fights. And really, Lambeau Field is a family atmosphere if you really think about
Yep.
it. It's not like a jungle of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 49er fans were pretty ornery that game. And that was Monday night game.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, crappy first half. Great second half.
Yep.
And that first half, over to my right, in whatever section that would be, 128, I've never seen a group of Packer and 49er fans almost get ejected. Scott, who is our usher, he's awesome. I always got his back because I've seen him get tossed down a couple times. You should never do that to an usher.
No, not at all.
But he had like other fans around him, made sure he was okay till the cops came and almost ejected those 49er fans.
Wow.
Cops talked to him. They brought him back in. It's a night game. Everybody's been drinking all day, you know, and I was just surprised by that. I was surprised by 49er fans and how ornery they were. And then you saw, if anybody watched any of the Raiders 49ers game on Thursday night, apparently there were a ton of fights at Levi Stadium that I saw
not
all
shocked.
online.
Yeah.
Right, between Oakland and 49ers. But it's just like, man.
You know, I was at that Monday night game, and I posted a rant video on my Facebook page afterwards the next night because I had fans in front of me leaving the second quarter, fans leaving the third quarter, fans leaving in the early fourth quarter. By the end of, like, the actual end of the game, my seats were, like, the area around me was pretty empty. Just like Packer fans getting, and I'm like, I hope I'm in a bad section this game because I've been to a lot of games. I've never had that happen. It kind of makes me worried. Maybe not. Maybe I'll be able to get season tickets sooner rather than later. That once Rodgers retires and you don't have that Hall of Fame quarterback, that all of these fans are just going to disappear.
Well, it's a great point. I didn't go my first game. I'm going to go back to my first game, and that's when Packs were starting to boom. That was 90, 92. We got Reggie. First game and only game with my dad. I was just out of high school and college, and Packers played the Eagles. And I remember White getting back-to-back sacks against Cunningham.
Nice.
His old team.
Yeah.
It was a revenge game.
Yep.
Played great the first half. Lost it in the second half. Since then, every game I've ever been to, it's been the event to go to. The 60s been the event to go to. My grandfather that my grandmother married, Bud, Francis Bellin, he used to sell Cokes after World War II. When he got back from World War II, he used to sell Cokes at City Stadium. That was packed. I don't know how it was in the 70s. I don't know how it was in the 80s. I hear from my uncles and stuff. Could you get tickets? Yes. You look at the 49ers, one of the playoff games I did not go to. The 49ers game that we had here. Mm-hmm. Kaepernick was quarterback. They were going to have a blackout.
Yeah, 2013.
Schneider and other local businesses had to throw in money to buy tickets to make sure that because nobody was buying tickets.
Yep.
You know, a playoff game. Where I'm going with that, Ben, is could that happen after we have the Montana Young, the Favre, Rodgers, era end. So we'll lead into this. Where is Lambeau going in my eyes? Mm-hmm. I don't think it'll happen, and here's why. Lambeau Field and the NFL and the Packers want Lambeau Field to be a Walt Disney World.
Right.
And they're doing that with the expansion of the Titletown district and the Aaron Sledding Hill and the commercial and the residential, which is all a brilliant, brilliant city planning job.
Yep.
For me, having young kids here, that park and that hill and what they do there with movies and having a farmer's market, and you can have drinks up there at the top of the hill and stuff like that. That is a destination now. Mm-hmm. It's just not going for a game. Mm-hmm. So the interesting thing is you're starting to see fans there that are just going there just to
for
be
the
there.
Experience. Mm-hmm.
Are they there to watch the game? I don't know.
Right. That's a good point. I just wonder, I mean, it's weird to me going back to that 2013 blackout. How the hell is a game blacked out if it's a sold out game? You know what I mean? If every season ticket has been claimed forever, how is it not a sold out?
I don't know.
I don't understand how that is. And I mean, even the 2016 playoff game against the Giants, they were pretty much giving away tickets because people just don't like going to that cold weather game. Playoff game.
Right.
And I think it's something too. I do think Packer fans are pretty spoiled now, especially younger ones like myself who I only know Favre and Rodgers. Right. I don't know Lindicki. I don't know Magic Man. I know Favre, Rodgers. That if the team isn't in their eyes going to win,
you got to throw in Randy right in between all that because that's the epitome of horrible quarterback. That's the lowest of the lowest. I think that was 86. That was my high school years, like 86 to 89 before we got Magic Man. But sorry to interrupt.
No, it was good. I was born in 89, okay. So. But where I was going with that is if they don't think that it's going to guarantee be a championship team, it's almost like fans just don't want to go deal with it. Right. Or at least that's from what I've seen. Like I go to playoff games and everyone can get tickets. It's super easy to get tickets if you're local.
Yeah.
But the locals are like, oh, nope, this isn't the year. We're not going to do it. You know, just like last year, you could walk around the stadium and get tickets for $30 a piece because people just wanting to get rid of them because they didn't want to see the product on the field.
Get their beer money and go in.
Yeah, and it's funny because after Rodgers, you're not going to find a better quarterback. Like statistically, either. I mean, do you think
so let's talk about management then. Let's talk about management because I always want. Am I a boo bird? Okay, let's go with this. Am I a boo bird? I have been a boo bird at Lambeau Field because I want them to put out a good product.
Right.
Okay. I don't have to agree with everything that McCarthy and the administration does, but I at least want them to make common sense and decent decisions. Okay. With what happened with the trades, okay. Ty goes.
Okay, I was gonna say Ty Montgomery.
Let's go there.
Yep. Okay.
Ty goes. Haha. I'm still a little resentful with them letting go of haha. Okay. If he's a cancer in the locker room, that's a coaching thing. You coach that. You social work the shit out of that. you get your best psychologists and your cool hip social workers to help mend that young guy to keep him cool until the rest of the season. Once the season's over with, let him go. With me, haha was in his last contract of his 5th year. Okay, Packers extended that 2 years to him. To me, most players want to showcase their talents because when they make the splash in free agency, they want a Pro Bowl year and go, here you go. Okay? We lost Casey and we lost Micah. Another bad decisions, looking back. We're going into Foxborough without a safety with Tremont Williams. And believe you me, I'm a huge Tremont fan. I got his jersey. I love Tremont. I was heartbroken when he left and he went to the Browns. I got it. He had to make that free agent money. We brought him back. That was great. But against the Rams, I saw something that I couldn't accept is he lost a step. He got burned a couple times. I get that. So you move him to safety. But all the pundits are like, no. Remember, Woodson went to the back to safety when he was a Raider.
Yep.
And he played
and even with the Packers.
Even with the Packers.
Yep.
Even with the Packers. I'm worried.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried because this season, who we got to go up against next?
Yeah.
Bears, Vikings, even Miami at home, and Miami's falling apart. I could see us, and I've said this in certain Facebook stuff and all that, that we might only win 2 more games. The Rams game was one where I thought was a game where we clicked on all cylinders and we were playing a good logic chess game.
Mm-hmm.
You have Bill Belichick, who is a Vince Lombardi coach. I don't care if you like the Patriots or he cheats or not. That dude's a genius.
Yep.
And he will take any player and turn him into an asset.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to drop Josh Gordon from the Browns? Boom, we'll pick him up that same day.
Yep.
You got to respect by any means necessary of how they'll play it. McCarthy still has that soft touch of playing conservative when we get ahead. He's the longest tenured coach in Packer history. I'm not saying he needs to go, but have I said it last year that he needed to go? I wanted a whole clean slate, to be honest with you. And I like Mike. I like Mike, and I liked him because he's a Pittsburgh guy, he's a Pennsylvania guy, he's a football guy. But once again, put out that good product out there. And we'll go all the way back to your original question. Will fans still come? You put out a good product, they'll still come. But you start jerking us around with this bullshit of dropping players or we're going to act more like a business than a football team and do it for Packer Nation. Because it's just not fans, man. Packer Nation.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to lose people.
But do you think that the product on the field starts with the quarterback? Because you can have... Now, granted, if you have a top elite defense, the quarterback doesn't matter as much.
85 Bears.
Or the Eagles last year, even. The Vikings last year. The quarterback can be a plug-and-play guy.
Right.
But to build that defense is super hard. That's lightning in a bottle. The 85 Bears had it. Eagles last year had it. This year But I think it starts with the quarterback. You can have those big names that are like everyone loves, but without that quarterback and being the centerpiece of the team, especially now in an offensive-driven NFL, doesn't matter if your quarterback's not elite.
Let's go back to, once again, the 2005-2007 era. I remember one of my points I was going to bring up. I remember when Favre was whining, okay? Mind you, I had a Favre Judas T-shirt on when he went to the Jets. Or when he went to the Vikings. I was one of those guys.
Okay, with the Vikings. Okay.
One of the Vikings. Jets, I didn't care. He wanted his money.
Yep.
I get that. But the jerk around with the lawn, with the tractor watch was bullshit.
Yep.
Still, I've made peace with him. He's a great guy. If I met him, I'd hug him and I'd be in all and all that crap. So don't get me wrong. But at that time, I was like, screw you, man. You are not bigger than the game. You're not bigger than the Packers. I remember when we drafted Rodgers in 06, if I'm correct, right?
05.
05, okay, 05. So then it was 06 or 07 when it was Favre's last year. They were saying, Favre was going, I don't got anybody around me. Randy Moss was one of those free agents.
Yep.
Rodgers was on the table of a trade. Half this state was in a civil war of banging the drum to get rid of Rodgers to bring in Randy Moss.
Yep.
Where did Randy go? I think he went to the Patriots.
Yep, from the Raiders to the Patriots.
From the Raiders to the Patriots. And Favre didn't get his way. And, yes, the quarterback makes the team. But this is where I'm going with the administration, the coaching staff, and our GM and our board of directors, because we don't have an owner. Mm-hmm. We have a board of directors. Mm-hmm. And Mark Murphy, how can I say this in a nice, respectful way? I think Mark Murphy was forced a hand to get rid of TT and also Dom Capers when he knew he should have done it years before. Mm-hmm. I don't think they'll ever say it, but I know that's the way that they need to do it. So with us, I think our strength is in the GM and board of directors. Mm-hmm. and then working there out and getting the good scouts and all that to get another quarterback. Could we get another quarterback to fill Rodgers' shoes? Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can. We did it before. Nobody knew that Rodgers from Cal was going to be this great.
Yep.
They knew he was good. They knew he was smart, which is great. It wasn't just all talent and run when it was the Michael Vick show,
Yep.
Where all the quarterbacks were running it during that time.
Yep.
We know that doesn't last.
Yeah.
Look what happened to Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Knee or no knee, that guy couldn't play anymore.
Right.
Okay? That's why he's not playing in the NFL. So where I'm most worried about with the Packers, Rodgers can say he can play another, did he say 10 years?
I think he wants to play to 40, which would be another 6. Which is what we have him through contract.
I'm giving him 3.
Really?
Right, with the new one, with the new contract.
Yep.
But before this, he got 3 good years. He has 3 good years. And then we're going to start seeing injuries, okay?
Sure.
He's gotten collarbones, knees, probably fingers, wrists. I don't know all his injuries. But all the way back from school. We can't fuck around and waste time on egos or whatever, because we need to win at least 2 more Super Bowls in the next 4 years for me to be satisfied as a Packer fan. That's how high the stakes are.
Do you think, I know like you really want it, right? And we talked about earlier, like wasting Rodgers' time. Do you think Rodgers is content with making more money? Because Brady route on how Brady takes a lot less money to use that money to sign talent around him. Rodgers is, and I'm not faulting him. I think Rodgers is worth every penny. Rodgers is signing these massive deals, which doesn't leave that same type of lucrative deal for other talent around him. So, you always hear people on one side saying, well, we're wasting Rodgers' time. However, Rodgers is saying, hey, I'm getting paid. I know that I'm taking up 20% of the salary cap, but I'm cool with it because I'm getting paid. So do you think are we wasting his time, or do you think he's perfectly fine with it, getting the fact that he's getting the financial gains he's getting?
The bigger question is, do we have the accountants that can manipulate the salary cap to fit Rodgers year in, year out? Because I don't understand the salary cap. Rodgers could reconstruct his contract to fit the needs of the Packers any year. They do it all the time with players. You hear about guaranteed money and contract money and this and that. Rodgers needed to get paid. I'm glad they paid him.
I'm hoping he restructures sometime later in the future where you can make runs at that end.
You can't be like the Brewers. Okay, let's take the Brewers. Small market team. You brought in Yelich and you brought in
You're on your own on this one.
I know. Absolute brain fart. The dude from the Royals, not Moustakas, but the Kane, Lorenzo Kane. Thank you very much. But you're working off your AAA and your young players, and you're bringing them up, and you're trying to develop them as young players, and so that way you can afford the big talent that takes up 60% of your payroll, and then you have 40% that pays for like the 30 other players that are out there. Okay, you can't do that in the NFL, because when you have the rookie contract, especially your top 3 draft picks, they're going to be in the million-ish dollars for those first year to 3 years or whatever. They're cheap. And then you want to retain them as free agents. That's a tough one to call. Once again, in Mark Murphy we trust, because he's the one that's got the eye on the prize going. He sees the big picture. And another rant that I'll go on to the press conference, give us some realness. Murphy, and every time they come up on my phone and stuff like that, and I really want to watch them, they're all politics now.
Yeah,
they're all politicians.
I think that's everyone though, right? Like you listen to Bill Belichick, and he gives you nothing. You listen to everyone, they give you nothing, and I don't blame them. I mean, media asks some of the weirdest questions that have nothing to do.
I just feel the fans are always left out.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the big picture. We don't see what's behind the scenes, and it's frustrating, especially to go back to HaHa. Tell us what was going on with HaHa.
Yeah.
But you can be cool about it. Mm-hmm. You don't got to be like, HaHa was a complete dick and an asshole, and we didn't want to deal with him, so we cut him, and we wanted to get a draft pick for him. You could have said something, to the nature of, HaHa just wasn't fitting in with our team, and we were really trying to work with him, and we both, whatever the agreement was, that we would let him go. Or did he get blindsided?
Yeah.
Because HaHa hasn't come out on Twitter saying he was blindsided by this either.
No. And he was talking about it throughout the entire process. I really think that it boils down to he's a roller coaster ride of you feast or famine with him. You either get turnovers and it's great, or it's a blown coverage and a pull up before he tackles and just kind of not the same physical self you saw in like 2014, 15, 2016.
But you lost Morgan Burnett, and then you lose HaHa.
Yeah.
And you lost your anchor of your secondary for not getting blown.
Yeah.
I just hope that this isn't the Josh Gordon coming out party on Sunday. And mind you, I still got faith, but just to be brutally honest, man, I am not going into this game going, we're going to smoke these puppies.
Right. Well, the funny part is this is going to air a couple weeks after. So
okay.
So you can make any predictions you want, and people are going to be like, "Oh, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about." Josh Gordon had one catch for 3 yards,
and then or he has 12 catches for 200. He's got that Julio Jones. 12 catches, 250 yards, 3 touchdowns.
What I do like, though, is Tremont, like you said, may have lost a step, right? He looked a little bit slower.
But he's physically in great shape.
Right.
He's in great shape.
Putting him back, he can be the free safety. He can zone around. Mm-hmm. He can just be a ball hawk, which he's always been. Doesn't have to rely on speed the same way. He can just use his smarts, his vision of the field, and just go where he goes with it. And I think, and nothing against HaHa. I've met him couple times, always a super nice guy, great person, does a lot in the community. So I don't think it's necessarily a cancer side of it, but I just think that they're thinking, hey, we get a 4th round pick for him. We save $3 million between him and Ty Montgomery that we could put to Kenny Clark or Blake Martinez.
Yeah.
We get a 4th round pick. People are upset. Hey, we're not going to get a compensation pick. To me, this might be saying Gutekunst plans on being more aggressive in free agency, where you're not going to get a compensation pick regardless. And it's the Patriots method. Patriots have done this year in, year out. Oh, we're not going to sign him. Okay, we'll trade him before the trade deadline. Right. But like you alluded to, you got to find that talent to plug and play.
So is Jairi, is he gonna be the anchor at corner then? Are they going to let the rookie go now?
Yeah, I mean, look at last game. He shut down Brandon Cooks. No problem.
Right.
Josh Jackson on the other side.
Kevin King, always been a Kevin King fan as long as he stays healthy.
And then now you have Brashad Breeland, who's learning the playbook, who is really strong with Washington.
And our defense is 5th in the passing.
Yeah.
So what are we all bitching about?
We'll see what happens.
I saw that all today. Yeah, we're the 5th. That's all I heard. We're the 5th.
Yeah, but some of those stats are skewed. But we'll see what happens. I mean, it's really interesting. It's nice to have someone actually here in person, because a lot of these times it's not a conversation on the podcast. It's more of like, so it's nice to hear a local's perspective on it, because I'm a very optimistic person on my end. So I'm probably too optimistic on one point where I'm like, oh, it's all sunshine and rainbows. It's going to work out. Even if it doesn't, I feel like there's a bigger picture in place. And so it's nice to see someone.
So Packer fans, let's talk about Packer fans for a second. Okay?
Yeah.
Living in Green Bay, I am amazed by how big Packer Nation is. Living in Wisconsin, you're like, all right, we're Packer fans. Okay, big deal. When I got married in Mexico, we met Packer fans. You travel all over the world, you're going to find Packer fans. You have Packer fans and Steeler fans. Those are probably the biggest. And excuse me, fuck the Cowboy fans. Sorry. I got a lot of Cowboy fan friends. But those are, like, to me, the 2 biggest markets that are, like, the lovable teams. You find a lot of passion with them. You will find Packer fans that are ungodly blindly faithful to Packer Nation. And no matter what, it's go Pack go.
Right.
Okay. I tried to be optimistic, glass is half full, and not be a negative Nancy. But once again, you got to put out the product. Otherwise, I got to critique you. Because if the emperor wears no clothes, he wears no fucking clothes, dude. Okay? So let's just call it what it is, you know? Mike Sherman with Joe Johnson and Cletus Hunt, horrible deals. The Favre handling, horrible. Both sides, horrible.
Have you seen Last Day at Lambeau? I asked so many people this, but
What is it?
It's a documentary. If not, I need to get you a copy of it. I probably have a copy.
This isn't the one with Favre on NFL films and his timeline. And
no. Well, it's similar. It's called Last Day at Lambeau, and I think the guy's name's Michael Nielsen. He put together a documentary about the whole Favre thing.
Did this come out during the Green Bay? Green Bay has their own movie thing that they have here.
The film festival?
Yeah, the film festival.
It might have. I don't know.
I heard about it. No, I don't think I've seen it, though.
I'll have to get you a copy.
Okay.
After we do this, I'll grab you a copy because it'll bring back that emotion.
Right.
Like every time I watch it, I get like pissed off again. So my whole family's...
Favre coming off that plane.
Yeah.
And when you had that Civil War...
Yeah.
Seriously, you had people that would jump down your throat if you said it's Rodgers' time. He needs to get in.
Yep.
He's been on the bench for 3 years. This is his time.
Yep. And so my whole family's Vikings fans. I'm the only Packers fan. Right? So my
That's
brother...
a whole other podcast.
Right. My brother's the opposite end of the spectrum as I am. He's diehard Vikings.
Okay.
So like him and I can't watch games together.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But so anytime I watch that documentary, man, it just brings it back. Like it brings back the hatred that I had in those couple years of like, we need to beat Brett Favre. And there's a part in the movie that's so like just sums it up for me is they must have it at Stadium View. I believe it's Stadium View. It's a 2010 game. I believe 2010. They have a camera set up and a fan walks by. He sees the camera. He leans into it and he goes, "I hate Brett Favre," and then just walks away. And I was like, that was me in 2010. Like I was so pissed, but I'll have to get you a copy of that. Anyway, I don't know where we're going with that, but I cut you off. But
here's where I'll go with the Favre thing. What I was just showing is where the administration made bad decisions, and I thought they could have went a better way about it. Okay, we are in a pivotal time in Packer history because we are coming at the end of the Rodgers era at some point in time. Okay, he's not done this year. He's going to go on. Where I felt really kind of shameful with Favre was in the NFC Central or the NFC Championship game against the Saints, where how'd he finish?
Yeah.
With a pick.
Yep.
And I go, fuck all you Viking fans. Now you have pure empathy for us.
Yeah.
Ha ha, sucks to be you. Nana nana boo boo. But that's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad because Favre he was the gunslinger.
Yeah.
He was your token cowboy in the old school movies that growing up as a kid. Now I was in my college days when he came, and thank God. You know, I remember when we drafted George Teague, and I was like, now our defense is going to turn, you know, when we drafted George Teague. I think it was like 90, 91 or something like that. But to grow up with Favre, you growing up with Favre, I mean, that's idol.
Yeah. My first jersey. That's
and we are so fortunate to have both these guys that when management, and I'll call it the administration, makes moves that I go, what? Nobody saw that coming. And then what's funny is I'm watching Roto World at work. Okay, still working, mind you, but I'm multitasking.
Yeah, you multitask.
I'm watching the clock because it stops at what, 3-4 o'clock Central Time.
I think it's 4 p.m. Eastern, so 3 p.m. our
Central.
time. Yeah,
and the haha thing came out like, I don't know, after 2 or something, and I'm going, all right, where the pickup's coming. Somebody's coming. Defensive tackle.
Yep.
Because Muhammad's out the rest of the year. Something's coming. It's crickets.
Yeah.
It's crickets.
Yeah.
And I'm going, this makes me worried.
Well, if it makes you feel better, probably not. But they tried going after Fowler, the Jaguars.
Okay.
They tried getting him. But
they do try making moves. Yeah. They do.
Khalil, they tried getting Khalil,
Absolutely.
but two of the Chicago's first round picks are obviously going to be more valuable.
Right. And they played a good poker match with that.
Yeah.
And really, even talking this is actually therapeutic because I'm feeling better about where we're going because
it's because I'm an optimist, man.
You're an optimist.
I'm like, sunshine and rainbows. Nothing.
But you know what I mean? Yeah. Here's another thing that I'm gonna rant on. Okay, I'm full of rants today.
That's good.
Is I'm sick of Boston fans. Okay. I watched last night. They won the World Series. Okay, mind you, the Brewers had a hell of a season.
Yeah. Unexpected.
Yeah. Great season. That close. Would we have gotten smoked by the Red Sox? Probably. But still, we were very close to making it.
Yep.
Now, all the news is putting out is, did you see since 2001 all the trophies and championships and parades that they have? There are T-shirts that go championship, parade, repeat that are getting sold like going off the shelves.
Yeah, I suppose.
And so we're going in after all this. Boston is on its complete high right now, like an epitome of high. And I watched the Bucks last night, who are undefeated. I think they were 8-0 going into Celtics, and they get smoked.
Yeah,
they get smoked. I'm like, oh, come on. So even going in this game, I'm like, can the Packers take these guys off their pedestal and just knock them down to a normal level?
It's funny because if you think about it, if the Brewers make the World Series, right, which they obviously didn't, they came close. You're playing Boston in the World Series. You have the Bucks playing the Celtics all around the same time all in the same time of like the Packers playing
Wisconsin versus New England.
Yeah.
And they are loud and arrogant, and they have every right to be.
Talk about a fan base though that once Brady retires, you're gonna see that fall off because I think they had the Favre Rodgers decision on their own, and they chose Favre instead of taking Rodgers. Now Garoppolo obviously tore his ACL this year, which sucked.
Correct.
But that guy's looks like the real deal right now. And now you took the Favre's pick in the Favre Rodgers,
right?
And that's the risk you run when you have an owner who's making those emotional decisions. And the Packers, like you said, that's their strength that they don't have that.
But to even go in a wider picture, one of the beautiful things about being in Green Bay and being around Lambeau Field and being a Packer fan is there is so much history, and going back to Curly and Don Hudson, even going in, you have the early days, and then you have the 60s. You have the lows of the 70s and 80s. And by the way, I think in the 40s and 50s we didn't play good. That's when like Detroit and all that were kicking our butts. We're still in this thick history of Green Bay. And what a story that this is, where this small little town can create such a worldwide product and bring so much joy and happiness to people, throughout the world. And we are, 120,000 maybe if you take all the...
Right, De Pere, Bellevue, all that.
So I try to sit back on that as well. Coming from a guy that all right, so I'm born and raised in West Bend, went to school in Whitewater, got my social work degree, went to Milwaukee, then got sick of the city, lived there for about 7-8 years, then moved up to Fond du Lac, and now married a woman who lives in Green Bay, and she's born and bred. She grew up in Denmark, so that's Green Bay.
Yeah, that's
rural Green Bay.
Yeah.
It's farm country Green Bay, and to just be around that history, and then to have full circle of my history with the family, it's still a blessing to even be a part of this time. And if even if you come across this podcast and you listen to all this gibberish that Ben and I have talked about, but if you take anything away from this, know that I am absolutely grateful and humble that I can go to a game and see Rodgers throw a ball to Devontae Adams.
Right.
I am grateful that I can go tailgate on Ridge Road and see Lambeau Field from one of my friend's house and not get charged parking. and I'll bring you over there, Ben. Honest, I will. I bring everybody over there. Very cool guy. And he's super nice. Opens up his house. Not his house, opens up his garage.
Yeah.
It's got the TVs.
Nice.
Everybody brings, it's your typical, what you would imagine as a house tailgate party. Everybody
awesome.
brings a dish to pass. We all got tables and chairs outside.
Good
Everybody
time.
gets there about 3 hours before. That's the culture. That isn't just Rodgers. It isn't haha leaving. That's the culture of Green Bay, the culture of Wisconsin. Other states don't have that.
Yeah.
You have fans coming over going, I can't believe you got houses and a gas station, around, it's just like plopped in the middle of a neighborhood.
Yep.
That's a miracle itself.
That's the craziest thing about when I came to my first Packers game. You're in a neighborhood and nope, now you're there. You're like it's one and the same. It's no different.
Although it's changing though. So not even going with Titletown District, but now start looking at all the micro mansions that are going up that are just getting rented out. Good for them. I don't care. I really don't. Lambeau Field should just develop. This is where I become a little bit more of a optimist business person. Let the market be the market and bring the businesses in, because it's great for the city of Green Bay. It's great for jobs. It's great for our economy, and it keeps expanding Brown County as well.
From what I understand is their frustration doesn't come necessarily that they're doing it, but that they're not Green Bay residents. The people who own the house don't live here.
Right.
So that money's going into their pockets. That money is then being into another economy, not Green Bay, where they probably want that money more in this environment. I did hear, I don't know if you knew this or not, that one that's directly across Lambeau that looks like Lambeau. I don't know if you know, they have like the same stone. It looked like they have big pillars. Like it looks like Lambeau Field, like a house, Lambeau Field.
Off of Lombardi and like Ridge, that side of Lambeau?
Literally right across from Lambeau Field on Lombardi.
Lombardi, okay.
Right across from Lombardi.
I've had to see it.
And you probably just don't pay it. And they've renovated a lot, but
okay.
Lambeau Field sent them a cease and dismiss letter because they're getting too close to looking like Lambeau Field. So they sent them a letter like, hey, you should probably pump the brakes.
Don't mess with Big Brother.
Yeah,
man.
you should probably pump the brakes a little bit on that. And then I'm sure you heard about the guy who registered TitletownTech.com and then tried getting season tickets and all this. Like they went from
Wild West. It's the Wild West right now with the district.
Yeah, they went from offering him $5,000 for the domain to him wanting season tickets, all of these like extra perks, all of this money, and then basically they just took him to court and got the domain anyway.
Right.
It's just crazy.
What can I say? Lambeau Field, Packer Nation, the administration's too big to fail. This expansion is good. My counter argument to the let's say I'm not going to put a conspiracy out there, but let's say the Chinese government are the ones buying up the houses here.
Right.
Okay, they're just getting rent.
Yep.
Those people coming here are paying gas, are buying beer, buying food, buying souvenirs, this, that, the other thing. They're spending money in this economy. So God bless them. The best part about Lambeau and the Titletown District is get more concerts in here. That Billy Joel concert I went to.
For free?
I didn't go for free.
Okay.
But
I thought, wasn't it a free concert?
No.
Oh.
Billy Joel was, you had to throw.
Wait. Maybe I'm thinking of the one. What was the one outside? There's that one outside.
You had Steve Miller Band.
Steve Miller Band.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great.
That's the one I was thinking of.
So I got little ones, and I got a 15-year-old stepdaughter and my wife. So the wife gave me the pass, and I went down to Steve Miller. And I'm a Deadhead Fish fan. So I love music. And Steve Miller, I saw at my first and only Jerry Garcia Dead show, which was 92 at Soldier Field. So to see him again sober, okay, because mind you, in 92 Soldier Field, I was under the influence of many substances. To see him there and to be able to go down there and weasel my way like kind of up to a very good spot was awesome. To see them work that environment really well was great. By the way, Packer people, take out the chairs, because they had they allowed people to bring their chairs and sit up in front. So what does everybody do when they stand up? You have all these chairs now. You have no aisles where people can walk.
Yeah.
Because they can't walk through the chairs.
Yeah.
Just a little side note. But I left about 3/4 of the way through, and I went up on the stairs on the Oneida Gate, and I just watched everything.
That's awesome.
Beautiful. Beautiful. The Kenny Chesney show, that was a bunch of drunks. They learned their lesson from that.
Yep.
Billy Joel, I got a ticket for like $50. And
was that in Lambeau Field?
That was in Lambeau Field.
Okay.
I mean, everybody's kind of a Billy Joel fan.
Right.
But he is an entertainer, and that was great. And once again, good for Lambeau.
And it fit Lambeau's demographic a little bit more than Kenny Chesney, where you're saying a lot of people that are just going there to get drunk and start fights and be trouble, where Billy Joel's like more of like, you're going to go to enjoy the show.
I would love to see Lambeau Field. Here's two requests, okay? Number one, get Fish, the band Fish, Phish, to play Lambeau Field for 3 nights. We could allow the camping, and we could have like a nice neo hippie festival here, which would be good for the community. Okay. Second plug and here's the weird thing about the NFL. Their music, it's like what they play in their music. It's like every stadium plays that same music, and that drives me nuts. Look at the guitar riff on Tweezer by Fish. And we should be playing that over and over at Lambeau Field, because the phrase is "step into the freezer."
Yeah.
We are the freezer.
Yeah, I like that.
And it's a great guitar riff. When I leave here, look up Fish, Tweezer, hear that guitar riff, you're like, he's got something there.
I'm writing it down right now.
He's got something there. Now, when we had Rodgers and he was the freezer, I thought that would even be better. But that's my 2 plugs there. Get Fish to play her and play Tweezer in and out to pump up the crowd, because it's a great booster.
Well, if I ever get my role on the executive board, I'll write that in for you.
But the whole Titletown district and all that, I think, once again, bringing it back to my kids growing up, I get to take my kids there roller skating, or ice skating, sledding. That's good. That's good old American values right there, you know. But it's nice because it isn't discotheques and bars and clubs and all that. You have that at Stadium View and Anduzzi's, and you have that at Bar West and at Kroll's and all that, and you have that side. I'm liking that they had the vision of going, let's see where this goes, and let's see if those small tech companies come here, because that was one of the deals with Microsoft, right?
Microsoft is bringing venture capitalist funding.
That's a big fucking deal,
yeah, that's
man.
a huge deal.
And then to have residential condos, which will probably be like $300,000-$400,000. You know, I don't know. Players will just afford to live there. But you know, to me, that's exciting, and that's the history of Lambeau coming from Old City Stadium. One of the things that I have, Ben. And Ben and I were talking, because we're memorabilia guys. I met a guy on Craigslist. I'm always scouring Craigslist for stuff. My wife rolls her eyes every time I bring something home. But there was this Green Bay Press Gazette guy who was a photographer since the 60s.
Wow.
And he had the I don't want to say the original, but the original, they have a date stamp on it, the 52 of Lambeau Field first aerial shot. Now, is it the first aerial? I don't know, but it's got to be one of them.
Right.
Where
could have been their first aerial shot too.
And then the first game ever played at Lambeau. Wow. I have that up in my office.
That's awesome.
That is cool ass history.
Yeah.
City Stadium, East High School. High schoolers get to play on hallowed ground. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah, my girlfriend went to high school there.
Okay.
And so family will come into town, or people that know about the page will come into town, and they'll get in contact. The
trolley tours. Trolley tours.
Yeah, well, and I'll go over there and I'll be like, oh, this is so cool. My girlfriend's like, yeah, I went to high school here. Like,
no big deal.
Yeah, like to her, because she's not from here, it's just like it'd be like me going to my high school to show people around. Like I'd be like, yeah, it's just, yeah, that's where I went to high school.
Somebody from New Jersey that's a Lombardi lover.
Yeah.
New York and New Jersey, there are some diehard Packer fans there because of Lombardi coming from there. And you can see them in the summer where they are just in awe of these gates and just a sign that says this was City Stadium.
Yep, exactly.
You know.
So what we kind of talked a little bit earlier. What got you into collecting? Where did that start for you?
The first one was bobbleheads. Quick story. I was sober in 2009. I'm a recovering addict alcoholic. I always I'm up front and foremost with that. Been a social for 20 years and sober for 9.5. When you get sober, and mind you, I want to put a plug out there because I know there's some Packer fans out there that may be wondering about how could I go to a game sober. You can. And if anybody looks up my name and you put my name out, they can always reach out to me. I'm an active member of AA, but I'm going with this with memorabilia because what do you do with all the hundreds of dollars you're not pissing away on weed and booze, you know? I started collecting bobbleheads. And the first one was a Prince Fielder in maybe it was closer to 2007. I told you 2003, but maybe it was closer to 2007. Took my parents to a Brewer game and collected that bobblehead, and then started collecting Brewers. Then the Packers won the Super Bowl, and then I absolutely remember this going into the pro shop. And mind you, another spoiler for us, we can just walk into the pro shop and just kind of lounge around. You know, I can do that on my break.
Yeah, on a random Thursday when there's no one there.
No one there. I can walk in, walk out. And I remember there was about 6 or 7 green base. See, now you get all technical with bobbleheads. Green base Packer bobbleheads. I didn't even know about the yellow base ones, and there's 15 of those. And I be honest with you, I begged my wife to let me at least get 3 because that was like $100 right
Yeah,
there.
they're not cheap.
You know, and when you're just going there and just trying to grab a T-shirt or something, you know, when can I drop $200 on bobbleheads? You know, your wife's going to look at you nuts. And so I got those, and my dad got me a Herb Adderley. He won it in an auction or something.
Nice.
And it was Herb Adderley, you know, great defensive back. And he got me that one. And so I'd say from 2009 to 2012 or so, it's just here and there stuff. But then I still don't know how this happened. So then one October night, I'm on Facebook. I'm like, you know what? I got to start looking for memorabilia clubs. And of course, there's Green Bay Memorabilia, great group of guys. And then there's Wisconsin Memorabilia Club. And then you find the deep end of the universe of memorabilia. You know, I never thought I would own a Don Hudson autograph.
Nice.
From a guy from North Dakota, Mark Frazzi. I think I pronounced his name right. I don't know. And then there's Greg Dacca from Hartford. Came with us to the 49ers game. He got me set up with a whole bunch of cool stuff. There's Daniel Hunt from Appleton, sweet guy. Got a Bart Starr Chrome mini helmet.
Nice.
Greg got from him. I got him. It's like, God, I don't even know. It's bigger than a 1620, but it's a lithograph of Bart Starr, signed by Bart, with the Ice Bowl, with Lombardi patting him on the back, and then there's another drawing of him, you know, reaching over the goal line. Yep. A Super Bowl trophy with Rodgers and Favre. The best one that I have, and I did a trade on this. It was a night. This is where I like this shit. I like memorabilia stuff. The trading, okay? It doesn't have to be all about the razzing and the gambling aspect of it, because I'm trying to put that aside, and I've done a good job for like 3 months or so. But the trading. So there was a dude by the name of Chris. He's from the Sheboygan-ish area, and he had a Bart Starr It's young Brett Favre with his arm around Bart Starr inside Lambeau Field. Everybody's seen that picture.
Yep.
And it's signed by both.
Nice.
Okay? Great. And I had a 1919, got this from Heritage Auction. There's Chris, and he actually, I can't remember his last name, big memorabilia guy. He works for Heritage, and he lives in between Dallas and here. So if he hears this, great guy. He knows his Packer stuff beyond me. I'm a pebble. I'm a pebble in a huge ocean when we're talking about memorabilia. But I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
So a 1919 Acme Packer stock. Okay?
Wow, nice.
Not my bad. Acme business stock, not Packer stock. Packer stock didn't come out till 23. That was the first Packer stock that came out. That's like the holy grail of stock. You could pay for a stock $5,000 to $10,000 or something like for a Packer stock. And this guy wanted it, and so we did the flop. We did the flop for that, and that was cool. You know, the bartering, the trading, the one piece at a time type things. My wives, the best thing to do, or girlfriends when you're shopping for houses is my wife is very strategically smart at business, and she goes, "We'll take this house," and I'm like, "Well, I don't know about that," and she's like, "The finished basement will be yours and the kids." I said, "Done." So I have a nice finished basement with a small bar area and a bathroom and my shit everywhere.
That's awesome.
And I can't fit any more stuff. One of the coolest things that I have is when we moved, I went on Craigslist and I found a hairdresser that was getting rid of their showcase.
Oh,
like an all glass
nice.
showcase, and I had the moving van that day. So within that day, they wanted 200, I got it down to $120. This full, it's got to be at least 8 feet by 3 feet.
Wow.
Heavy shit.
Right.
With glass everywhere, with drawers on the bottom, that you would see at your barbershop or a beauty salon, and was able to have a buddy help me load it up, and then I held it overnight. And I remember when we moved in our house, the movers that were moving in, and I had carpet guys coming in too, I had them all grouped for like 10 minutes to help me move this shit downstairs. There's no way I can move that out again.
Yeah.
But it's got all my bobbleheads on it and above it and all the mini helmets and all that. Yeah.
That's awesome. So out of all the pieces you have, what's your favorite thing you own? Because you asked me, that was one of the first things you asked me.
It was. I love that. What's your grail piece?
Yeah, what's my holy grail
piece? The Super Bowl trophy comes to mind. Full-size Super Bowl trophy with Rodgers and Favre signature. Just because I remember in Fond du Lac, I had this cool framer in Fond du Lac. And mind you, before I got into Packer stuff, I was into concert prints. So like Fish and Grateful Dead have artists that do concert prints. And one of my best turnarounds, as a side story, and I'll answer that question, was I bought a Widespread Panic at the Milwaukee Riverside Theater for $25. And in order to get me out of my gambling debt with razzing, just being brutally honest here, I sold it for $2,100.
Wow.
And I was able, free and clear, my debt was paid and then some, with what I owed our own bank, the family bank. But when I went into that Fond du Lac shop, I remember seeing those Super Bowl trophies and they were like, $500-$600. I'm like, there's no way I'd ever afford that. There's no way I'd ever pay money for
just
that.
to justify it.
Just to justify it. And this is not a promotion for gambling, because believe you me, keep that in balance. I'm an addict and alcoholic, so gambling is not for me. I'm just saying that. But I won. That was a $1,200 piece I won on a $20 hit.
Wow.
So I entered $20 in a razz for 60 slots, and my name came up at the top, and I won that trophy with that. And there's no way I would even ever afford that on my own money, or be willing to save up for that. But for the simplest piece, it's all my stars. Bart Stars,
Yeah.
The history of Bart Starr and how humble that dude was. I'm in such awe.
Such a great guy.
Yeah. And I wish I could have ever, whoever shook his hand, got to spend time with him. Very cool. I wish I would have been able to meet him.
Yeah.
Out of all the greats. That's why I love that picture of Rodgers, Favre, and Starr that the Packers are selling, because that's such a beautiful picture of all three of those guys. Genuinely enjoying their time with each other.
Yeah, they all look like they're happy to be around each other. And it's nice to see Favre and Rodgers are mending that relationship, because
with the start of the SBs and all that, with that joking around, that's cool.
Yeah, and Rodgers talked about how it's important to him that they're having that relationship that they had in 2007 again.
Mind you, I also want to do a shout out to the God, I can't remember Mike's shop. Mike has a memorabilia shop over on the side of Lambeau. He's got
Card and Coin.
Card and Coin. Thank you. I knew it was Coin something.
Yeah, Card and Coin's legit.
He's a great shop, man.
Yeah.
I love going in there and looking around, because it's so nice to see all that different old stuff.
I bought a few things from him, and he always has really unique stuff that you don't find anywhere
Reasonable
else.
prices too.
Yep.
Reasonable, decent prices.
I am still a little mad at him. Not really, but back in the day, I was on his website.
Yeah.
And there's a
lost something. You missed out on that opportunity.
So there's a Ray Nitschke signed contract for like a card company.
Hard autograph to get raised.
So I bought it.
Yeah.
Bought it. I'm like, sweet. I get an email. No, they called me. They said someone was just in the shop, walked out the door the moment I bought it.
You bought it online and the communication wasn't there going, don't sell that, that's already bought.
When I was buying it, someone literally just bought it in store and was walking out.
Son of a bitch.
And so he called me. He's like, hey, I'm so sorry.
Contract.
Yeah, it was a signed card.
Not an 8x10.
No, it was a signed card contract, which was so cool to me.
Yeah.
Of like, Ray Nitschke signing it was like, I don't know, some stupid little, I don't even think it was like a card contract that's even, or a card company that's even in business anymore. But it was like just a card contract, Ray Nitschke. And it was like $100. So it wasn't like I was paying $500. It was, I thought it was such a reasonable price. I think I ended up getting a signed Ray Nitschke check from him instead. But that card contract, I'm not too jaded, but I'm a little jaded.
Yeah.
But anyone should check that out if they come to town.
Packers have such cool memorabilia. I would love to see plug for Lambeau Field in their atrium to actually have a super memorabilia like gathering, like Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Have a memorabilia thing of just Packer stuff and Packer fans, and do that like the weekend before training camp or something. Because here's one thing, and I don't know where this happened, but this came out on the Green Bay memorabilia website, was they had guys there selling memorabilia stuff that were absolutely fake crap. It was horrible fake crap, and there were guys on this group that have passion for this memorabilia, that they want to keep the authenticity at a high level, so the scammers don't get in and start selling fake crap all the time. And I still can't believe that actually occurred. I don't know the circumstances around it. I don't know what group got in there. I don't even know if they're still in there, because when I go to games, I go in the quick trip gate and I'm in my seat and I sit there. When the game's over with, I'm out. I don't go look around. I don't need to. It's not my purpose there.
Right.
But they had pictures of it, and it was horrible Bart Starr, horrible Aaron Rodgers, horrible Favre, autographs on shit that they wanted like $800-900 for. And I hope the Packers figured that out, and the people that were trying to make moves and reach in the Packer organization, that they did, because memorabilia is only good as the community keeps it. And I'm really glad and proud that those groups really try to kick out and sniff out any type of bullshit.
Yeah.
And thank God for the COAs like JSA and Scooters down in
Appleton.
Love
Scooters.
Yeah. He just had was it JSA? He just had JSA there this weekend.
He does it all the time.
And I went down there a couple months ago and got some stuff authenticated. And that was cool, because otherwise I don't want to send that shit in.
Yep.
And he was cool enough that I showed up, and instead of going put it on the pile, he's like, I'll sneak you in real quick. He did it begrudgingly, but still was cool about
Scooter's such a nice guy.
it.
Dude runs a solid business. Anytime you interact with him there, he's so cool.
And his new store in downtown Appleton, very nice spot.
I don't think I've been to the new one in downtown Appleton. I went to the one where he was in like that. He was in that smaller one, then he went to the larger one. So now he's in a different one, right? A new.
So when I covered out of gaming county in my previous job when I worked in Fox Valley, he was across from the Social Security office.
Mm-hmm. Was that the smaller one?
That was like in the strip mall.
Yep.
And there was only maybe like 5 or 6 stores there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved up to Green Bay, and I haven't been down to his store in a long time. But when he had the JSA authentication a couple weeks ago, it was his grand opening of his store. He didn't even have it fully set up yet.
Oh, wow.
But it's on College Avenue downtown Appleton.
So he just keeps expanding out, I think.
Right. Great location. I just said, what are you going to do with the parking? He's like, well, we'll just deal with it, but it's nice to be downtown. You know.
Yeah.
So I agree. Yeah.
That's funny. We go to a lot of the same spots. Well, I feel like, John, we could talk all night.
Yeah.
So we can get some of the deep dive wrap up questions. I don't know how quick they are with you. You go in depth, which I like. You're making my job easy over here.
Good.
So I'll hammer out a few of these. I usually try to do more deep thought questions that'll try to stump you up a little bit. So the first one I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to exclude a couple players based off of our conversation here. If you could meet any person associated with the Green Bay Packers and have a conversation with them, any person alive or dead, excluding Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr, who are you going to choose and why?
Charles Woodson.
Good choice.
I'm going to pick 3.
Okay.
Charles Woodson, you just mentioned Ray Nitschke, and Donald Driver. Charles still comes here. His brother owns
Cover 2.
Yep. It's cool to see Charles selling his wine. Still come to Lambeau, Green Bay, still visit. His brother stayed here. Reggie would be another one.
Yeah.
I mean, you put me on the spot, but Charles was that free agent drop that I'm like, we made a good move.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to solidify our secondary the way he did and the way he coached, because I don't care what you said, he coached those younger guys.
Oh.
He coached Tremont and Sam Shields, you know. And I miss Sam, by the way. I just love his focus.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Driver, nicest guy in the world.
Right.
Okay. Maybe Sterling Sharp, too. What am I mean, Sterling? But Donald, just what he does in the community, his life story from being homeless and being where he's at and still giving back to the community. I mean, that dude's an angel.
Yep.
Ray Nitschke, just for the fact of what Jackie Nitschke went through, being with my recovery story with alcohol and addiction. Jackie went through it. We have the Jackie Nitschke community-based residential facility here that's right downtown Green Bay that helps a lot of addicts and alcoholics out. Ray was always a proponent of that. Ray has his own history with his own alcohol, but to be able to put that together, I would want to talk to him and just ask him, you know, what it was like and how he changed it. You know,
interesting reasons.
For being such a badass.
Yeah,
from being such a badass. You know,
good. I like the answers. Yeah, I love Woodson. I've been saying this for a while now that I thought 21 should be retired after him, and the reason for it is because his story and timeline and narrative and everything felt very similar to number 92.
Yeah.
You come in, you solidify that defense. You're the difference maker on that defense.
You make the Super Bowl even though he got hurt and he couldn't finish it out, but still he fired up that whole defense.
Yeah. When you think of that Super Bowl season, you think of the speech he gives about, well, the president doesn't want to come see us. Well,
right.
We'll go that speech will go down forever.
It will.
100 years from now, they'll still be showing video footage of that in the Packers Hall of Fame, in the NFL Hall of Fame. So I think his number should be retired and it should be 21 for Woodson.
I agree.
But I'm a Woodson fanboy, so I was actually just debating. I want to buy his jersey just to try getting him at cover 2 to sign it, because every time he comes to town, he goes to cover 2.
Right.
So I want to try to get him to sign it so I can display it.
I've always heard, and I don't know. I've always heard he's been a tough guy to get to sign.
Yeah.
He'll sign his wine bottles for you, but that's it. But I've heard people that have gotten signatures from him.
When I moved here, the 2 weeks after I moved here, he was at Cover 2. He had a deal. If you bought a wine, he would sign the wine in an item.
Oh, he would? Okay.
Yeah. So I got a football. I met him. And it was like scary because I'm like, this dude's like a legend. This guy's like my idol on the team. Is he going to be a dick? Is he going to be someone I don't want to meet?
He almost seems like not elitist, just brazen.
Yep.
Cocky, arrogant. Unapproachable.
Yeah. I was terrified going in there. And I've met a lot of players and I've done a lot of things, but I was like, is my perception of this person going to be different after tonight? Nope. Complete opposite. Nice as could be. Yeah. I walked out of there like so on cloud nine that I met him.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Good answers. I really like your answers, especially the Reggie or the Ray Nitschke one. If you could take any player from a past team in their prime, excluding Reggie, and add them to today's team, who would you take?
Don Hudson.
Don Hudson.
No problem.
With all the wide receiver depth.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not that it's going to matter. He's going to blow them all away.
He's going to blow them all away. It's interesting, and my Don Hudson love has only been a few years, right? And that's just honest. I'm not a Packer historian. One of the things that's cool is if you're in town and you can go to one of these historical luncheons and get the history of the Packers and have one of these Packer famous historians go over it. Mm-hmm. My dad and I went 2 years ago to Hagelmeister, and they had it was like $30-$40, and they talked about the Packers history from 1919 up until 1959. They didn't go in the 60s. They just did that.
Wow.
And that was cool to hear. And now Lambeau Field's doing it with players. Where I'm going with Don Hudson is I did not realize how great of a player he was. I know they named the Don Hudson Center, but I just all right, some great Packer.
Yeah.
That dude was great. He was a steal of a draft. We almost didn't get him. Mm-hmm. I forgot how the story goes, but Curly kind of stole him away with the contract because he mailed the stamp earlier. He mailed a letter earlier or whatever, and it's a cool story because once again, history repeats itself. When we got Hudson, all of a sudden we went on this big boom again. Mm-hmm. We started winning championships again. There was a lull before that. Mm-hmm. So Don Hudson would be one guy. If you placed him in here right now, we got Aaron Rodgers. Would he improve the wide receivers? Yes. Would you think I'd go with the defensive player? Now that I second guess myself, maybe. But I just think Don Hudson's the Packer of all Packers.
Yeah, he had a record for touchdowns that lasted until like the early 90s.
One of the first
80s.
people in the Canton Football Hall of Fame. Records that stood for 40, 50 years until maybe Jerry Rice or somebody. Once again, I'm not
there was a receiver from Seattle that broke one of his records of 100 touchdowns, but I don't remember.
Right.
I don't remember who it was, but Curly got the contract in before some other team, and that's how they ended up getting him, which is just great answer. I like that one too. Gonna kind of skip around on some of these. If you could watch any game again for the first time, living that roller coaster ride, having the same reactions, same feelings again, I'm going to exclude the Bears game, and I'm going to exclude any championship games. Okay. Which game would you choose?
I'm gonna pick two.
Okay.
The first one is the Raiders game with Favre.
2003.
After he lost his father. Mm-hmm. That was an emotional game, Monday Night Football game, and nobody knew if he was going to play or not. And to see that's Packer Nation, mm-hmm. you could feel your brothers and sisters all going, God, I hope he's okay. Mm-hmm. And then he lights the shit out of that. The teardrop passes that he had that he just launched up in the air. It was divine intervention.
Yeah, and every receiver came down.
Right. The other one, and this goes back to my college days, and I brought this up in my Facebook page with a lot of my college buddies. I think it was 94. Was it 94? 94 or 95. It was a Monday night game against the Bears. It rained out like a mother.
Was it Halloween, 94?
Halloween night. Yes.
Yeah.
And now, once again, I'm sober, so I'm going to go back to this is when I was partying and stuff.
Yeah.
That was one of the best fun house parties I've ever been a part. And here's the thing. Here's the interesting thing. My buddy Scotty, who's from Chicago, was the most cockiest Bears fan and Bulls fan and Cubbies fan there is. He is the epitome of a fibber, okay? And I love him to death, and we always had this banter. He dressed up as a Rasta Santa Claus, and the look on his face at the end when we lit up the Bears at that game, after he got so intoxicated. If you remember Trading Places, Dan Aykroyd as the Santa, and he's like riding the subway on the back or the bus on the way home, and he's all lit up, and he brings this like salmon out and he starts eating it, and he's just all messed up. That's what my buddy Scotty looked like. It was a fun college house party. It was a fun game to watch. I wasn't there because it was in Soldier Field, but just that time, that time of youth, being in my young 20s. And watching the Packers. Well, watching the Packers really start moving somewhere. That time was awesome, but it was also a big tease because when we had to play Dallas, we always got beat by Dallas.
Yeah. And that was something I'm trying to think when you're I don't think I can say anything. I was going to say that was something one of my guests coming up talks about. You and I talked about it a little bit off air. Former player.
Okay.
One, he talked about it.
Yeah.
I think your episode is the episode right before his.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you'd be heading into his episode.
Well, there
so
we go.
Good transition on that one.
Nice.
No, this isn't even a deep thought question, but with you being sober, do you find it's tough for you to go to these tailgating parties just because, I mean, with an addiction, obviously, it's always in the back of your mind. You're always around. And just because you're sober doesn't mean everyone else at the party's sober. You're hearing everyone crack beers.
Yep.
I mean, is it always in the back of your mind, like, or now that you've been sober 10 years, that it's just kind of like, okay, this is normal life, we're going on?
My first Packer game sober was the 2009 season. We played the Bills. It was the home opener of the second game. I just remember it was warm, and you're on pins and needles because the one thing you don't want to do is slip. And with recovery, and not to get too deep into AA and all that, but once you kind of, I'm going to use the word cleanse yourself of all the bullshit you've done in your past, and you have kind of a clean slate now, you lose that obsession of alcohol and drugs. So when I go now, what's interesting is here's the best. This is the best. I'll bring up my wife, because wives, you're smart and you always know when to put us in our place. So shout out to the women there. So there's one game. It always goes back to the Bears game.
Yeah.
There's a Bears game where we have, remember my cousin Ed, okay, got good tickets. He's got the tickets. It's by the orange cooler. Next time you're on the Packers side, look for the orange cooler. It's like right on the 50-yard line. All the Packers have to come there to go get their water.
Yep.
We had front row tickets right there.
Nice.
Now, those tickets are great, but you can't see shit because you're looking over everybody.
And the camera crew goes back.
Fuck the camera crews, man.
Yeah.
So that Sunday night crew with the booger
TV
or
whatever his name is,
he's got to go. That was horrible. I felt sorry for the fans. We're on the 20th row where my season tickets are, so we overlooked that. But anybody in like row 5 to row 15, you're just being blocked by that. But anyway, we're there, and I am lit up like a Christmas tree, and I am one of those guys that, like, I think. Now, this is what alcohol and drugs does to you. It boosts up your ego and become a narcissist where you think the world revolves around you. And I literally think I can start the wave on my own. So when I stand up to cheer, everybody else should stand up with me.
Yeah.
And you've seen those guys at
Yep.
games.
Yep.
Okay. So I almost get pulled out of a game. I get pulled out by an usher. It's like fourth quarter. And I told the ladies behind me, I'm like, I'm really excited for this game. I'm going to be standing up a lot. I hope I don't disappoint you. Mind you, I'm really, really drunk. So I'm going to try to do my best to hold my own. I pissed everybody off around me, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wasn't trying to be a dick, but I was being a dick.
Mm-hmm.
Go back now to my first sober game where I'm on pins and needles and I make it through that, which is fine. Now I go to my first one with my wife. This is 2011. We got Kid Rock. We got Lady Antebellum and some other band was playing. Remember, this was against New Orleans Saints. This was the home opener.
Yeah.
We had the big concert beforehand and stuff. And there was a Packer guy a row in front of me, standing up being like me when I was at that Bears game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting pissed and I'm getting ornery. My new tagline is act like you're a season ticket holder. Mind you, that works. It shuts everybody up pretty quick. That seems to work on a lot of people.
Right.
I go, act like a season ticket holder. And then they like, oh, shit. All right, maybe I'll sit down. But what my wife Shelly did was she goes, wasn't that you? Wasn't that you? I'm like, fuck, yes, that was me. That was me. And I got to be a little bit, you know, once again, humility is the big thing of sobriety. I got to be a little humble with that. The guy ended up getting ejected after the quarter, or he left. It doesn't matter. Him and his girlfriend was. I feel sorry. Not sorry, but there's feelings
It's
for
that
me.
sympathy, that empathy of like you've been there.
Sort of, but people spend. We're in Green Bay, so I pay my season tickets are face value. Okay, people pay $200 to $300 for these tickets. This is a one-time coming to this stadium, to this experience. I get the selfishness of I am going to do whatever I want to enjoy this time because I deserve it and I paid this money for it. I feel bad when they get so lit up that they won't remember it and they're ruining the experience for themselves. Now, to answer your question about sobriety, right now I'm always the DD. I drink Monster Energy drinks. It's not the greatest for you, but I drink that and water. That's my drink now. My wife can have whatever drinks she can have. She's a normie, okay? Meaning she can take it or leave it. There'll be a six-pack in our fridge for a month, and I'll be like, you're killing me here. That should be gone like in a couple hours. What are you doing to me? But when I go to games, you find out not everybody is a binge tailgate drinker. And I notice that when you're sober. There are those people here and there. But right now it doesn't affect me. And if there was one thing that I would love at Lambeau Field, it's this. And I don't know how to do it, but I'll put it out there in the universe and see if something happens. I'm going to go back to my Fish concerts, okay? So the Fish and Grateful Dead, because of the heavy drug and alcohol use, they have their sober groups called the Wharf Rats and the Fellowship. And they actually have a table at their concerts that they have volunteers who get in the concert for free, but will monitor the table to have anybody that has just the inkling not to use, to have that as kind of a safe zone for them.
Nice.
And then at set break, because both those bands play two sets. They play one first set, then there's an intermission for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then they play a second set. During that intermission, you go back to the table and you actually have like a meeting. Not an AA meeting per se, but a meeting of encouragement. You talk about the show, how great it is to be here. Thank you for being sober. You meet and mingle and network with other sober fans, and it kind of reboosts your energy up, and you know that you have a family of other Fish fans or Deadhead fans.
You don't feel alienated.
You don't feel like I'm a loner. I came with all my friends who are using and I got nowhere to go. If you feel the urge to use, go to the table. You got like a safe zone, ghoul, like we called it when we were playing tag as kids. You know, if Lambeau Field could have that at a game where you could have people voluntarily work a table, call it whatever you want, group, and have that table there for fans that if they want to get sober or learn about sobriety, that's there. That would be great. You know,
I like that. That's a cool idea.
I would do up my time at least half the games. I'd probably do half the games with volunteer because I volunteer when Fish plays Alpine Valley. I volunteer the table at Alpine because I've been to so many shows. I don't need to be up front anymore.
Yeah.
And the amount of people you meet from all over the country and the stories you hear of whether it's alcohol, whether it's weed, whether it's coke, heroin, whatever, but just them being sober and the gratitude that they bring, that's the gift right there.
That's very cool.
Lambeau's known, let's be honest, Wisconsin, we're a drunk state, okay? I always say whenever I speak about my alcoholism and drug addiction, I'm German and Irish. I'm born on St. Patrick's Day, and I was born in West Bend, Wisconsin. Okay? That right there, I was deemed to be an alcoholic at least. The weed and other stuff came later. But we're known for our alcoholism. We're known for our binge drinking. We're known for our tailgating.
Yep.
Our tailgating is spot on. We pride ourselves with our tailgating. Do we need to be responsible all the time? Fuck no. You don't need to be responsible all the time. But let's have a safe area for people if they are searching. There's a lot of sober people that are in sobriety that won't go to Lambeau Field because it's too much of a trigger for them. Yep. And those people I feel sad and lost for because it's like you're missing out on so much. Because like I said, when I go to those games, you feel that energy that much more. The energy of Geronimo Allison catching that pass. Seeing Rodgers jumping up and down.
Yeah.
Watching Des Bryant get that call back on the catch and us winning that game, against Dallas. And it probably was a catch, but who cares? And
there's still 3 minutes left in the game.
There's plenty of time left, right? But you really feel that emotion, and I'm just one day at a time, and I'm grateful that I could even do this and get this out to the universe. That there's another sober Packer fan out there. And if you ever want any more information, reach out to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't drink at all I'm not recovering alcoholic or anything like that. I'm probably like your wife. I just don't take it or leave it. I'm a normie, but I've never been a drinker. So my thought is if I'm paying good money, I want to go and enjoy it.
There you go.
And not forget it, not know what's going on. So
by the way, I'm a little bit of a cheapskate when I go to Lambeau. I buy one water and I probably have half the water when I leave the stadium. So I give them about $4 and that's it.
You're you're not as cheap as me, I should say, because I don't buy shit when I go to Lambeau Field. I'm like, no, I'm not paying $6.25 for a bottle of water.
Is that what it is?
It's like something ridiculous.
Right.
Like, fuck no, I'm not paying that. Katie, you can get a bottle of water if you want it.
Lambeau Field as well. Get a designated driver thing so people can get a freebie. The Bucks Arena does it. Miller Park does it. I was just at the Rosemont Horizon for the Fish Show in Chicago. They do it. Lambeau Field, get on it. Get a designated driver. So give somebody a free soda or water.
Right, exactly.
Really.
Yeah, exactly.
Get the people home safe.
Last one here for you, which I think you'll like. I think you'll like this question. If you became president or quote unquote the owner of the Packers today, what's the first thing you're gonna do? And you might have even answered it in this last briefing here, but first thing you're gonna do as the quote unquote owner, where you actually have the authority of an owner. I mean, you pretty much answered it in a little bit in the last one.
So outside of Packers, I still would have more music venues. Mind you, Fish would be great, but Lambeau Field should be used year round. Mm-hmm. So I'd have more music venues there. I'd also look at music festivals at Lambeau, and then use the rest of the town as side stages, like they do at not Mardi Gras, but the New Orleans Jazz Fest, where you have an actual stage, but then afterwards or beforehand, bars and other areas can have their own. The Meyer Theater, the Widener, all of them can have their own little thing. That would be my big picture for Lambeau during that. As for a Packer,
and it doesn't even have to be. I mean, I really like that example. That's really out of the box from what I normally get. You can keep going with whatever thought you have, but it could also be like a roster move, could be a coaching move, could be any form of ownership. There's a lot to it.
That's huge.
I mean, this question would have been.
Here's where we would go.
Yeah.
Let's just settle on this, because I can't pick everything with the team.
Right.
Here's what I miss. This is what I really miss. I miss Reggie White, Gilbert Brown, Sean Jones, and
Santana
Dotson. Thank you. I missed that front four.
Mm-hmm.
We go back. I hate the 3-4 defense. I hate it. That's a Dom Capers thing. I hate it. I want the 4-3 back, and I want to design it around Clark, Kenny Clark, who's the young pup, and get the defensive ends that are monsters,
Mm-hmm.
and get back to that gridiron 4-3. You can pressure the offense with 4 guys. And then you can get some crazy blitzing schemes with your cornerbacks and linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't pressure the quarterback enough.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go.
What I do say, I like that answer, but I think Mike Pettin is getting home on blitzes with having no pass rush on the front four, really.
The Rams game was brilliant.
Yeah.
The Rams game was brilliant.
Every third down, you're like, where the hell is this guy coming from? You're getting pressure. You're getting home. I'm hoping against Brady you still see that.
I try to look at the NFL because I know that the teams are going back to 3-4 defenses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing the last
Speed.
5-6 years is speed.
Yep.
But, man, when you look at our defense in 94, 95, 96, 97.
That front four could eat you.
It took up so much to make the back end so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having that starting pitcher, that Kershaw, that can go 6 innings deep, and then you bring your bullpen in, and then they relax and cool because they know that you guys are going to get a sack to 2 sacks a game, and you're going to be disrupting the offense and stopping the run.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. I like that
there
answer.
You go.
Man, we've this is a long one. I like it. Yeah. Hey, it was good conversation. It wasn't forced at all.
No.
Before we sign off here, anything else that you'd like to add or anything?
I think what you're doing is great, and whatever I can do to get the word out with you, let me be a helper. This was
we might need to do another an episode again, because I feel like we barely scratched the surface.
There's a lot more to cover. There's a lot more to cover, especially with the city of Green Bay.
Yeah.
And what you're trying to do with expose all the stuff in Green Bay. I one of the coolest things I've always wanted to do. Here's my little thing.
Okay, then I got one more question for you that I thought of.
I always wanted to start a business that if you wanted to come to Wisconsin and you wanted to go to a Badger game or a Bucks game or a Brewers game or a Packer game, or you wanted to go up to Door County, or you wanted that big hunting trip or fishing trip, you come to me, and I would know every ins and outs of Wisconsin, that I could set you up with the greatest time ever.
Sure.
And be a package planner type guy, a vacation planner. Green Bay has so many great assets for the size and its location, being with Door County and the UP right there, Marinette and the Northern Woods. There's a lot of potential with this town that I think can go in a much, not saying it's going in the wrong direction, but I think there's more potential. I think what you're doing, you got a pulse on it, is try to expose that more.
Right.
So that's what I was going with.
Right. Last thing for you, since you're a local, what's your favorite place to eat? If you're out of town and you're like, hey, I want to go eat somewhere.
Okay.
I want to eat like a local. What is your go-to suggestion?
All right. First off, Green Bay's got shit for pizza. Okay, I'm sorry. Jake's.
Rustique's pretty solid. I love Rustique.
Fancy pizza, California pizza.
Yeah.
You need a Zaffiro's like in Milwaukee. A Zaffiro's in Milwaukee off of Brady in Oakland. Go look it up if you don't know what I'm talking
I'll have to
about.
check that place out.
That's the money spot. That's the pizza. When I moved up here from Milwaukee, there isn't. We go to Resides. Resides is good chain Chicago pizza, but there isn't that like great pizza place. Rustique, I've heard, is fantastic. But that's your Howard Hobart people. That's West Side.
Yep.
I need the greasy.
You need the
spoon.
East Side.
And Jake's is okay, but Jake's has got that weird chili thing going on. Where would I go send somebody to eat? I've always answered with 2 answers, so I'm going to go with 2, and I might go with a couple. All right. So the best fries and Coca-Cola, soda on the gun is Fox Harbor.
I need to write that down. I'm a Coke head when it comes to that.
Fox Harbor, great burgers during the summer, outside venue, right on the river. It's right by my work at the Aging and Disability Resource Center. We'll go there in the summer and go eat. From a tourist standpoint, for Packer stuff, I mean, there's supper clubs and stuff I could throw out there, but I'm going to keep it simple with, if guys come to town, I'll go there. You'll have fun and you'll have some Packer history. Hagelmeister's got it with being on the river as well and the outdoor environment. They have good food. I don't think you can go wrong with Hagelmeister. Where I think is the more better traditional spot is Titletown Brewery.
Good choices.
You know, what they're doing with that whole area over there and them kind of getting snubbed by what's the fancy restaurant that's out by Titletown District?
Hinterland.
Hinterland.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard rumors that Titletown was trying to get out there and Hinterland snuck in and nobody knows how they got the shot.
Yeah, Titletown would have been a better fit, in my opinion.
I think Titletown would have been a better fit because it's more blue collar. And Hinterland, I don't need to pay $15 for a burger. And I've never ate out there, to be honest with you. So never ate in there. Don't need to. There's enough places. Titletown's a good spot. It's right on the railroad tracks. Do it with the farmers market on Wednesday. You know, with the young people, I call it the social drinking farmers market. You know, and that's a good spot too.
Good suggestions.
Right.
Well, to wrap her up, how we always end a podcast with, nice Go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go.
And that is going to do it for this episode of the Green Bay Narrative. Huge thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time to listen, to support the podcast, whether this is your first episode now that you've listened to or your 38th. Thank you all so much. I can't say that enough. I also want to say a huge thank you to John for taking the time out of his schedule to come over, record his story. It was super great getting to know him, getting to meet him, and now it's been great being able to text him and get to know him even more. If you don't do so already, be sure to head over and follow me on any of my social medias: Facebook, The Green Bay Guy; Instagram, The Green Bay Guy; Twitter, The Green Bay Guy; Snapchat, The GB Guy. And you can add me or subscribe, I guess, on YouTube, The Green Bay Guy there as well. Until next week, Go Pack Go.